The NBA world was still spinning after Chris Paul got pushed out of the Clippers in the coldest way possible, but nobody saw this twist coming at all. What James Harden and Kawhi Leonard would later reveal about Ty Lue's role made the whole thing explode overnight. But what happened next will blow your mind. This wasn't some normal roster move or a quiet front office decision, not even close. This was a midnight shock that blindsided the entire league. Picture this clearly. It's around 3 in the morning Eastern Time on December 4th, 2025. The Clippers are on a road trip posted up at a team hotel in Atlanta, getting ready to face the Hawks later that day. Most people are knocked out cold at that hour, but Chris Paul isn't sleeping at all. This is a 12-time All-Star, an 11-time All-NBA selection, a floor general who stacked more assists than anyone not named John Stockton, a man many fans still call the greatest Clipper ever. And instead of resting, he's wide awake because he's just been told his run with the Los Angeles Clippers is finished. Just like that. Chris Paul didn't hear this news in some polished meeting back in Los Angeles. There was no respectful sit-down with ownership, no carefully planned phone call, none of that. He found out during a 3-hour late-night meeting with Clippers president of basketball operations, Lawrence Frank, inside a hotel in Atlanta while the team was on the road. The moment that meeting ended, Chris Paul didn't wait for a press release or a PR spin job. He went straight to Instagram and told the world himself. One short message said it all. Just found out I'm being sent home. Peace. A peace sign emoji included. That was it. That's how one of the greatest point guards the league has ever seen broke the news about his story with the Clippers crashing down in real time. But this is where the situation really turns wild. This is the part that sends shockwaves straight through the NBA. James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, the two stars the entire Clippers operation revolves around, were completely in the dark. Zero heads up, zero warning. Let that sink in. Harden and Kawhi, the leaders of the locker room, the faces of the franchise, found out Chris Paul was gone the exact same way fans did, through social media. No call, no meeting, no explanation. Just a post, a peace sign, and absolute chaos spreading across the league. If you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into the biggest NBA stories. They woke up, grabbed their phones, and boom, the news was everywhere. Every sports outlet in America had it blasted across the screen like breaking news chaos. No call from the front office, no warning from the coaching staff. Nobody thought it mattered to tell the Clippers' two franchise stars that a future Hall of Famer was being pushed out in the middle of the night. Later that same evening, after the Clippers' victory over the Hawks, reporters finally caught up with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, and their reactions said more than any press release ever could. James Harden, who shared a locker room with Chris Paul back in Houston, didn't sugarcoat a thing. He looked genuinely stunned. I'm just as confused and shocked as you guys. The world definitely surprised me, but not just Chris. Then he added, it's a lot that we were dealing with, but that is out of my hands. I gotta focus on what I gotta focus on and what I can control. I guess the front office felt that was the best decision for the organization. That wasn't a throwaway comment. That was a quiet alarm bell ringing loud. Did you catch that part? Not just Chris. That one line tells you everything. Harden wasn't talking about a single problem. He was hinting at a pile of issues bubbling under the surface. This wasn't one bad move. It was a pattern. And then there's Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi usually keeps it short, tight, and emotionless. He's not the guy giving dramatic sound bites, but even he couldn't hide how thrown off he was by this whole mess. He called the news shocking to him, and that alone says plenty. What made it even crazier is what Kawhi revealed next. He said he had recently been having positive conversations with Chris Paul about improving the team's play. Real talks, productive talks, planning ahead, not arguments, not tension, real basketball discussions. Let that sink in for a second. Kawhi Leonard was actively working with Chris Paul to turn the season around. And then, out of nowhere, with zero warning, Paul is gone, shipped out, sent home, like he'd crossed some invisible line nobody explained. The build-up to Paul's exit had been brewing for weeks. Chris Paul had been pushing accountability across the board. Players, coaches, management, nobody was off limits. That attitude reportedly caused serious friction, especially with head coach Ty Lue. According to multiple reports, the two hadn't even been on speaking terms for weeks before the decision dropped. That's not normal. That's dysfunction. Let's talk about the Chris Paul and Ty Lue fallout, because this part says everything. Multiple reports claim that Paul and Lue hadn't spoken for weeks before the decision went down. Their communication was allegedly limited to only the most basic on-court exchanges. No real dialogue, no real connection. Ty Lue quickly pushed back on that narrative and flat out denied it. When asked directly if he and Paul hadn't spoken in weeks, Lue said that's not true. But here's the thing. The details that surfaced afterward painted a very different picture. When Ty Lue finally addressed the media, his tone was calm, but his words were revealing. He admitted he didn't like how things ended, but then dropped the line that raised eyebrows everywhere. He said the fit just wasn't right. Read between the lines on that. It wasn't a good fit is code in this league. It means Chris Paul's demanding vocal leadership style clashed with how the Clippers wanted to operate. One report involving assistant coach Jeff Van Gundy summed it all up perfectly. During a game against the Dallas Mavericks, Kawhi Leonard was on a minutes restriction and looked rusty after sitting. During a timeout late in the fourth quarter, he was struggling to keep up defensively. Chris Paul noticed it and went to Kawhi with a suggestion. Maybe switch the defensive matchup temporarily until he got warmed up. The very next day on the team plane, Jeff Van Gundy called Chris Paul into a meeting. He asked him directly if he had changed the defensive assignment. Paul explained that he didn't change anything, he only suggested an adjustment. That's when the tone shifted fast. The conversation got confrontational almost immediately. Van Gundy reportedly shut it down hard. You might have had leeway in other places, but you don't have that leeway here. Let that line sink in. That wasn't about one play or one suggestion. That was a power move. The coaching staff was drawing a clear line and telling a future Hall of Famer exactly where he stood in their hierarchy. A 12-time All-Star, a floor general who's been running NBA offenses at the highest level for over 2 decades, and yet he's being told his basketball IQ and leadership aren't welcome here anymore. Chris Paul didn't even need to argue publicly. His response said everything. Instead of doing an interview, Paul posted a screenshot on his Instagram story showing the definition of the word leeway. Simple, sharp, and passive-aggressive in the cleanest way possible. That move made it crystal clear he felt disrespected and boxed out. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you want to stay updated on all the latest NBA drama and insider stories. According to multiple sources who spoke with former players and people close to the situation, Chris Paul's constant critiques started wearing thin. Practices, rotations, discipline, nothing was off limits. And over time, that pressure reportedly got exhausting. There are even reports suggesting that James Harden and Kawhi Leonard had quietly grown weary of Paul's approach. Yes, they were shocked publicly. Yes, they looked blindsided. But behind the scenes, frustration may have been building longer than anyone realized. Now, let's be clear. There are multiple perspectives floating around here. The full truth probably sits somewhere in the middle. But one thing is undeniable. Ty Lue himself admitted he didn't want to see Chris Paul go out like this. Lue expressed real respect for Paul, while admitting the dynamics simply didn't work. When asked directly if he wanted CP3's career with the Clippers to end this way, his response was honest, calm, and resigned. He knew it was ugly. The real question now is this: was Ty Lue actually part of the decision to send Paul home, or was this purely an organizational call from Lawrence Frank? When asked if he agreed with the move and if it would help the team, Lue dropped a bombshell. I don't think it'll necessarily help our team. I don't think the reason why we're 5-26 is because of CP's play. Read that again. Even the head coach is admitting this move won't magically fix anything. The Clippers have deeper problems than one vocal veteran. They're ranked 28th in scoring at just over 111 points per game. They're giving up nearly 117 points defensively. Kawhi Leonard has already missed major time. This isn't about one player. So now the pressure shifts. What happens next for Chris Paul? What happens to the Clippers? And how does the rest of the league react to a team that just pushed out one of its smartest voices? Make no mistake, the fallout from this move has been huge, and the damage stretches way beyond one player and one franchise. This wasn't just a roster shakeup. This sent ripples across the entire league.
Despite everything that went down, Chris Paul has handled this mess with serious composure and class. No tantrums, no messy interviews, just calm energy. In an exclusive interview published on December 9th, Paul kept it simple. "I'm at peace with everything." That was it, straight to the point. He went even further, saying he has zero regrets about the experience and that this unexpected pause has allowed him to refocus on family. When NBA insider Chris Haynes reached out to ask what's next, Paul's response said everything about his mindset. He made it clear he's staying ready, staying sharp, and staying open to whatever opportunity comes next. No bitterness, no victim talk. "I don't regret anything," Paul said, framing the situation as just another chapter in his journey. And honestly, that level of maturity is exactly what you'd expect from a 21-season veteran. But here's the part that hits different. Chris Paul originally framed the 2025-26 season as his final run in the league. When he signed with the Clippers in July 2025, it was supposed to be poetic, a homecoming, a farewell tour, a clean ending. This was meant to be his victory lap, his storybook send-off. Instead, it turned into one of the coldest exits the league has seen in years. Now the league is buzzing about where he lands next. Paul becomes trade eligible on December 15th, 2025, and speculation is everywhere. The Lakers keep coming up thanks to his close bond with LeBron James. The Thunder makes sense too, given his strong run mentoring Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Odds makers have the Cavaliers listed as favorites. The Spurs and Miami Heat have also been floated as possible spots. Wherever he goes, interest won't be a problem. But here's what really lit the basketball world on fire. It's not just that Chris Paul was moved, it's how it happened. Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back when breaking down the credentials of the man who was just pushed aside like an afterthought. And zooming out, this incident puts a harsh spotlight on the Clippers as an organization. Former NBA champion Draymond Green issued a blunt warning to players across the league. His message was clear. If this is how icons are treated, free agents might think twice before trusting that front office. This wasn't just about Chris Paul. This was a message, whether the Clippers meant it or not. Carmelo Anthony didn't mince words at all. He straight up blasted the Clippers for how they handled this mess, calling it flat-out disrespectful. Stephen A. Smith went even harder, labeling the entire process pathetic and embarrassing. He made it crystal clear the organization deserved to be dragged for this decision. No excuses. And zooming out, this Chris Paul situation isn't some isolated slip-up. It's a symptom of a much bigger problem that's been haunting this franchise for years. Look at the pattern. The Clippers gave up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps to land Paul George back in 2019. Now Paul George is gone to Philadelphia with nothing to show for it. They flipped multiple players and picks for James Harden. They handed Kawhi Leonard massive extensions despite constant availability issues. And now, here they are sitting at 6-18, the oldest roster in the league, with their best players suiting up only part-time because of load management. The idea of a Clippers curse is back in full force. Fans and analysts are pointing to the long history of dysfunction, from the Donald Sterling era to repeated playoff collapses. One writer even said, "This team isn't cursed by fate, they feed the curse themselves." Dumping Chris Paul for wanting accountability and winning too badly just added fuel to that reputation. So what's the real verdict here? The truth is messy. Chris Paul is a demanding leader with sky-high standards. That style works wonders with young teams hungry to learn and grow. But with a veteran-heavy roster full of established stars and strong egos, that same approach can rub people the wrong way. At the same time, there's no defending how the Clippers handled this. You don't send a future Hall of Famer home in the middle of the night on a road trip. You don't let him find out his fate during a 3-hour hotel meeting in Atlanta. You bring him back to Los Angeles. You sit down with him and his family. You work out a clean exit with respect and dignity. You let him walk away on his own terms. That's how real organizations move. But that's not what happened here. Now the Clippers are stuck dealing with the fallout, a damaged reputation, a frustrated fan base, and a loud message sent to every free agent in the league about how legends might be treated. As for James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, they're trapped in the middle of the chaos, trying to win games while the noise keeps getting louder. The Chris Paul chapter in Clippers history has closed in a messy way. What happens next for CP3, for this franchise, and for the rest of the league is still unfolding. One thing is certain, though, this story isn't fading anytime soon. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most shocking moves of the season, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our breakdowns of the biggest NBA stories. Drop a comment below with where you think Chris Paul lands next.